23 years ago, a little girl put on her brand new backpack and her new little uniform, and she walked into a tall brick school building in the middle of Maryland, and she was ready for her first day of kindergarten. And little did she know that that day in kindergarten would change her life forever. Because when she came home from kindergarten, she knew exactly what she wanted to be. She wanted to be a kindergarten teacher. I can remember so many days getting to school just in the nick of time for my teacher to open the door. She was always running late. And I would walk into that room, and when I walked into the classroom, I felt excited, I felt ready to learn, and I began to develop a passion for education, even though my little 5-year-old mind couldn't quite comprehend it. And as I began to grow, and I would go home and pretend I was a teacher and put on my little plastic high heels and pretend I was playing school. And as I did that, my parents and my family could see this growing passion for teaching in me. And if we fast forward several years later, we all moved to central Pennsylvania, and we moved really close to a Christian school called Penview Christian Academy. And I began coming to school at Penview, and I spent all of my high school years here at Penview Christian Academy learning and developing more of a passion, not just for teaching and education, but a passion to be involved in ministry. When I was a senior in high school, I began making a lot of decisions, as most seniors do. And I remember I was 16 when I graduated, and that summer I took a trip with my sister-in-law to a youth camp out west. It was at that youth camp that I began hearing God talk to me about what He wanted me to do with my future, especially college. And at that time, I had actually made plans to go to a different Bible college, and I made a lot of connections there, and that was what I wanted to do. But as I began working through the summer and listening to God's voice, I began to hear Him calling me not to that college, but here to Penview. And so finally, by the end of the summer, I had made my decision, and I was ready to follow God's plan. Even if it wasn't exactly what I had planned, I was ready to follow His plan. My time here at Penview as a college student was a really great time for me to begin to understand who God really wanted me to be. Not just what my career was going to be, but who God wanted me to be. I believe that while I was here at Penview, I began to develop understanding for who God really is, what He expects of us, and how my relationship with Him is something that is real and personal. I learned how to know more about God and know who God is through my teachers and the education they gave me, the advice they gave me. I learned more about God through my relationships with others and learning how to work through hard times and dealing with drama, dealing with stress. All of those things compiled, but one of the main things that Penview had always taught me was that no matter what happens, God's way is always the best way. So in the moments where I had to make decisions about what my future was going to hold, knowing that what God had was always going to be the best choice. I didn't always make the right choices, but God was always faithful to lead me back to His path. And I'm thankful for that, and I'm thankful for the faculty and staff at Penview and the friends that I made at Penview that began to point my eyes not on them and not on what they had to say about life, but they pointed my eyes to Jesus and what He had to say about my life. And so as I went through my college years, there were moments that I felt myself losing that passion for teaching, maybe because of schoolwork or relationships or whatever the case might be. But quite often, my director at that time, Mr. Fellenser, would remind me of just the passion of helping students learn, but helping students know that they are special and that God loves them. And so I'm so thankful for the way that my teachers impacted me. And as I neared my senior year of college, I really didn't know what was going to happen for me. It's scary to look at being a senior and to realize that you have all these possibilities in front of you, but to also feel very, very scared about it. When I was a senior, the president of Penview called me into his office and asked me if I would consider taking over a second grade position in our academy. I was very unsure about that because I hadn't yet student taught, and I always dreamed of being a kindergarten teacher. And God has a way of taking your dreams and reminding you that it's not about what we want, but it's about what He wants. So through much prayer and a lot of leadership, it was decided that after graduation in the spring, that fall, I would start teaching second grade. And teaching has proved to be a wild ride. I went from second grade to teaching dual classrooms, 4th and 5th grade, and the kindergarten position at Penview Christian Academy was offered to me. And of course, because that had been my dream for so many years, I wanted to say yes immediately. But again, I just paused and asked God what His will would be. And I felt a deep peace knowing that this was exactly where God wanted me. And so this year, for the first time, my 7th year of teaching, I am now a kindergarten teacher at Penview Christian Academy. I can honestly say, looking back over my high school years and my college years here at Penview, that it wasn't just the fact that I had a good education, it wasn't just the fact that my teachers cared about me, but it was the fact that everyone around me pointed me to Jesus and reminded me that His way is always best, and that whatever life hands you, that when we're following God's plan, we can rest in assurance and know that He cares about us and He wants what's best for us.